Let's bring in Lauren Leader, co-founder and CEO of All In Together, and Republican strategist Joe Watkins, former White House aide to President George H.W. Bush. Joe, thanks for sticking around for this, and Lauren, welcome to you. Hey, Joe, how can Northam still see any future as governor of Virginia under these circumstances?
I don't know how he can. Right now, he's lost the confidence of a significant part of the Democratic Party as well as the Republican Party, all the people with whom he'd have to work in the state legislature. That's a difficult thing. And I think for many African Americans and for many Americans, and certainly for many Virginians, his apology is too little, too late. I mean, this photo has been around for 35 years, and of course it just surfaced, but it's been around for 35 years. If he had disclosed it when he was a candidate running for governor, that'd be one thing. That would have given the Virginia voters a chance then to decide whether or not they were going to forgive him for this misdeed of the past. But too little, too late, and I agree with the calls for him to step down.
These calls for his resignation, Lauren, what do they amount to beyond pressure? Well, the loss of support by these groups and the leaders, does that prevent Northam from being able to properly govern, even if he keeps refusing to step aside?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that it does. I mean, he needs his allies. Governors are not, of course, chief executives. They need their legislatures in order to support and pass any legislation. You know, the point I think Joe made is such a good one. I just want to say that I think what was heartbreaking for me about his apology yesterday was that it was an opportunity for him to explain in some more meaningful way the evolution of what's happened in his life. Why did he hold those views at the time? What was the context? How has he come to understand how wrong that was? You know, even regardless of whether or not he's trying to preserve his job, I mean, that would have been the right thing to do. And what bothers me is that when these issues come up in the U.S., when we have these, you know, blatant reminders of our incredibly racist history, which continues, racism continues in the United States, we keep missing the opportunities for real conversations of healing. And, you know, just to point to a contrast, when Tulsi Gabbard apologized for her anti-gay statements, she talked a lot about the evolution of her views from her childhood, why she held those views in the first place, and how she came to understand that they were wrong. I think that's what Ralph Northam should have done, and I wish he had, not just for his own sake, but for the sake of the country. We need conversations like this. We need to face the racist history of this country, and we need to face it honestly, especially as white leaders in the country of a party that is overwhelmingly diverse, where the majority of the voters, the most active voters in that party are black women who deserve better than this. And the voters, white and black of Virginia, deserve a deeper honesty, self-reflection, and someone who takes this seriously in a real way, doesn't just read canned talking points from their comms director, which is what it felt like yesterday.
Look, I got to say amen to that. I 100% agree with you. But Lauren, in terms of where this goes now, you have Democrats stopping short, some of them, of calling for his resignation. Three key ones here: Congressman Jerry Connolly and the Senators Mark Warner and Tim Kaine there from Virginia. So they, let's be clear, are condemning the racist photo, but they're asking him to carefully consider what comes next. What are your thoughts on that?
No, look, I think there's pretty universal agreement at this point that he needs to resign. I mean, this happened so quickly. This all emerged yesterday. It's a matter of hours. I'm sure he's reeling and trying to figure out his plans for the future. Again, had he made a more contrite statement, I actually think it would have opened. I mean, you have to ask, like, where does he go from here? Even if he resigns, you know, his career is certainly ruined, and, you know, he could have handled this, I think, in a way that would have set him up for potentially some sort of renewal, or at least commitment to working on racial issues and to racial justice issues into the future. I don't think there's any question he's going to resign. Let's give it a couple days, but I don't think he survives this. And I think there's a fantastic lieutenant governor who has an amazing opportunity to transform Virginia, and he's going to get to have potentially, you know, a 7-year term because he can run again after these first 3 years, despite Virginia's term limit. So, you know, I think he needs to stop thinking about himself and think about the good of the state of Virginia, the good of the Democratic Party. It's totally destructive. Every minute that he stays on the job, it's destructive to the Democratic Party. And it's going to need to change very quickly.
Does it matter, Joe, that Northam did not say which of those two reprehensible figures he was in the photo? And why wouldn't he do that if he's coming forward with this mea culpa?
Well, I agree with everything Lauren said. Lauren was right on point. and this is bigger than a Republican Democrat. I think that if he had come forward and said, if he had made a statement that kind of showed the evolution of who he was and who he is today, that would have been helpful. It would have been a lot more helpful if he had done it during the campaign when he was a candidate for governor. Of course, it would have given again the voters a chance to really see who he was and how he had evolved as a
human being.
But even yesterday's statement
would have been a risk. He may not have gotten the office. True.
But look at what's happened now. Look at what's happened now. I mean, this is a scab that's been removed, and it's oozing pus right now, and it's very, very painful. It's painful for people of color. It's painful for all Virginians, whether you're white or black or other. This is a painful, painful day. And the governor needs to step aside, as Lauren said, and think of the Commonwealth of Virginia and think of the country, really. And that's why he should step aside.
You know what's interesting, Joe? Again, you and I are in total agreement with everything that Lauren was saying about the kind of conversation that needs to happen in this country. Does this be the catalyst? Does this start the conversation that we need to be having as Americans?
Maybe it does. Maybe it does. I mean, certainly after he resigns, as I suspect he will, maybe there's a chance to talk about then his evolution and why he's not the person that appeared in that 1984 medical school yearbook photo. This is a conversation, and Lauren is right, this is a conversation that needs to happen. I mean, I said that when Charlottesville happened in 2017. Yeah. This is a conversation that we need to have as a country to move forward together.
Yeah.
I mean, we have Steve King still sitting in Congress, Alex. I mean, you know, these are not just about issues from 35 years ago. These issues persist. And we have a culture in which racism and discrimination is still largely an acceptable part of our political life. We have elected officials who are white supremacists.
Right.
These are serious issues that we have to deal with as a country on both sides of the aisle, white and black America. All of us need to deal with the history of where we've come from and where we are today.
I'm 100% in agreement, as I've said a few times, and I hope we have these conversations more. Let me quickly get to 2020 with you guys before I let you go. Beginning with Cory Booker and his big entrance into the presidential race. I want to take a quick look at his announcement video.
I believe that we can build a country where no one is forgotten, no one is left behind. Together, we will channel our common pain back into our common purpose. Together, America, we will rise. I'm Cory Booker, and I'm running for President of the United States of America.
So, handicap this already crowded field, Lauren. Is he taking the right steps to differentiate himself and make a mark?
I mean, it's so early. I'm going to tell you, I'm not making predictions on this election. I learned my lesson in 2016. No, I know. So everyone else does, Alex. Everyone else does. Look, I think this is an extraordinary field of exceptionally qualified, incredibly talented and gifted candidates. It is really probably one of the most talented fields of my lifetime. I think that they all bring extraordinary strengths. It is going to be challenging for a number of the candidates to break through and to make their mark because the field is so crowded. But I think we're going to have an extraordinary competition of ideas. I think we may actually see a more constructive and positive debate among the Democrats. I think they're very committed to not attacking each other and going low. I think that's going to potentially shift the discourse. We've got 4 women running on the Democratic side, unprecedented. And I think stay tuned, because I do still think we're going to see some Republican challengers to the president, depending on how the next few months evolve. So I'm super excited about this, and I'm excited because I think we have a field that reflects America in ways that we have never seen before, and that's powerful. And these are all dedicated public servants. You may not agree with everything they've done, but these are people who've devoted their lives to service of the country, not service of their own self-interest. And that is an important message for Americans about what it means to be in politics.